In addition to being the voice in your head that is like keeping you from speaking up, it's also a voice that never, ever says anything positive. And you would never do that to a friend. You would never just only point out their bad sides and the bad things they did. You should treat yourself the way you would treat a friend.
We are all a work in progress. And even those people that look confident in your eyes, they do struggle with not having confidence on some days. They make mistakes as well. So we're all a work in progress, and you're also the best project you can work on.
Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. If you want to have a more powerful and confident voice at work, but it feels like there is something inside you that is holding you back, today's episode is for you. Today, I am interviewing Jenny and Alice. They are both alums of my signature program, The Art of Speaking Up Academy. The Art of Speaking Up Academy is where I help my clients build confidence and strengthen their voice as leaders. In this conversation, you're going to hear Alice and Jenny tell the story of realizing what was getting in the way of the voice and leadership they were capable of, how they worked through those obstacles, and what advice they have for other professional women who are working on building confidence and finding their voice in the workplace. If you've ever wondered if you're the only one struggling with confidence, or if you want to get a closer look at what it actually looks like to build real confidence at work, then I think you're going to love this interview. First, you're going to meet Alice. Alice is an insights and strategy lead in tech, and she is passionate about using data to shape better decisions and growth. She is particularly interested in how insight drives business strategy and long-term competitive advantage. You're also going to meet Jenny. Jenny is a senior IT manager in healthcare, currently working in pharmacy benefits. She is passionate about improving care through data, technology, and people-centered leadership. Both of these women are highly inspirational, and I'm so excited for you to meet them. So let's dive in. So I'm going to start with you, Alice, and I'd love to get your thoughts on, in your process of building confidence, what has been more useful, focusing on behaviors or actions, or focusing on like the internal mindset stuff?
I would say probably the mindset has been the most impactful. I think one of the key things from the program is I always looked at confidence as this milestone that I'm going to hit, like I'll become a confident person, or I would refer to people as that person is naturally confident or they are confident. We all have those feelings of nervousness, of being critical to ourselves, or that voice telling you to not to do this or not to do that, and focusing on how to improve my reaction to that and how to bounce back even from instances where perhaps I don't feel things went as well, gives me confidence and evidence as well, right? So finding ways to manage my internal dialogue, my internal self-awareness as well, is what is making me feel more confident and constantly like improve on that confidence muscle.
Yeah, that's such a useful way to describe it. And one thing that I would love to get your thoughts on, if you're open to sharing, is I think sometimes those thoughts and difficult feelings can feel impenetrable. Like, oh, there's no way I can push past this. Like, this has to go away for me to feel confident. If someone relates to that, is there any perspective you could share?
What I've noticed is that this inner dialogue, the negative inner dialogue, doesn't go away. And I've really stopped labeling that dialogue as particularly negative. I still call it the inner critic because it's protective. It's trying to keep me alive. It's trying to avoid any conflict or any danger as well. It's not about eliminating it completely. It's much more about the awareness of how do I want to react to that voice that I'm hearing. That to me has been less of feeling like a really big thing that I need to do, that I need to totally quieten this inner critic because that feels impossible. And I personally, for me, that hasn't been possible. It's much more being aware of what the inner critic is telling me, and how that can work is sometimes I feel the inner critic in a meeting telling me, don't speak up, but I'll be like, I have something to say. I have a contribution to make. So I am going to speak up. There are instances where it's going to tell me this is a really big thing you want to do. And I will manage it by saying that, yes, it's a really big thing. I'm going to practice more. I'm going to put in more time into this thing. So it's become much more easier to deal with it by thinking about it as how do I manage this voice in my head rather than how do I totally eliminate this voice in my head.
Such a wonderful way to explain it. Mindset and confidence, I think these concepts can be hard to explain because they're not concrete. And I think you just created such a lovely roadmap for people to understand themselves and their experiences more deeply. So thank you for that, Alice. I'm excited to hear Jenny's thoughts on this. So Jenny, I'll have you start with the big umbrella question of, in your experience with building confidence, was it more about changing the actions and behaviors, or was it more about changing the thoughts and the internal mindset?
Same with Alice. I think it was definitely the mindset more for me. And I really appreciated in the academy that we spent a good portion of the beginning just developing all of those mindset muscles. And I think that was also a topic that helped me frame that. It's a muscle, mindset muscle that, you might start out small, but if the more you practice the mindset techniques and work on it, then it grows. And it really just is a journey more than like a destination. So the mindset muscle was really huge. And also, like Alice said, thinking that my contributions are important and not speaking up is actually doing a disservice to the company was a huge mindset part that really helped me overall in my job.
Yeah, I think that can help us see it from a different point of view. And for those of us who identify as high achieving, the thought of not doing our best, I think, can be really compelling. And so when we realize that maybe the organization or our boss or someone else is going to miss out if we actually don't find the courage to speak up, that can really motivate us because we feel deeply driven to make that impact. I'm curious just if you have any other thoughts or reflections on that idea.
Yeah, just like not needing to have the perfect thing to say, but the intention of it is to get results. That's more important, like you said, than perfection. And a lot of us, I think, in the program seem to be perfectionists, and overcoming that was really huge.
Yes, I saw Alice nod. I nodded. And I think that is a very accurate observation. We're going to go deeper into mindset and deeper into the inner critic, which you started to talk about, Alice. So I'll go back to you, Alice, and then I'll circle back with you on this one, Jenny. You mentioned the idea of the inner critic. So let's just start with what is the definition of the inner critic? Let's start there and then we'll go deeper.
I would say the inner critic is that voice that many of us have in our heads that it tends to be a bit negative, telling you not to do something, to stop what you're doing. I mostly look at it as that part that's trying to just keep you alive and is avoiding anything that may seem like it's dangerous. So the inner critic is that voice in your head that perhaps is holding you back or is telling you to stop gravitating towards certain things.
Yes. And I know you talked about what helps you work with it and looking at what it's saying and then deciding, okay, do I want to listen to this or do I want to do something else? Was that something that you had to practice? Like, what was it like for you cultivating that internal ability?
Yes, I really had to do a lot of practice. once we started exploring the inner critic in the program, I found that I was listening to it much more, and I was now aware of actually this voice. Previously, I don't think I actually was aware of this voice. And first of all, it was important to label it as the inner critic and separate it from myself. At first, I actually used to almost have that dialogue and speak it out. I needed to actually do that in order to internalize what the inner critic is telling me versus what is actually happening. And I would seriously do it sometimes in the bathroom if I feel I'm being very overwhelmed by this voice and it's really holding me back in the moment. I would just go to the bathroom, take a deep breath, and tell myself, this voice is telling me this. This is what I want to do, and this is what I now choose to do. And for a very long time, I had to do that practical part of it in that way. Now I can much more do it on the spot and on the go. But yes, it did take a lot of practice. And I would journal about it sometimes as well.
I think it's so beautiful that you gave yourself permission for your process to look like what it needed to look like. And that if you needed physical space or a little bit of extra time to get out of a situation and be in the bathroom and have that moment to slow down, you let yourself have that. I imagine that is a big reason that you have been able to grow, because I think a lot of times then the inner critic can say, I can't believe you need to leave this setting and go to the bathroom. Why can't you just handle this? And the fact that you're able to say, this is what I need to do and I'm going to do it, I think is now the reason that you are able to now maybe do it more quickly. And now maybe you don't always need that much space.
Yes, I think within the program, one thing is there's a chance for you to discover a lot about yourself and just go on this journey and give yourself what you need in that moment and then watch yourself grow through it as well.
Love it. And also that's the definition of leadership, which is so cool. I think we become better leaders when we cultivate the ability to understand our needs and how to care for our emotional world in a way that helps us show up. So beautiful example. Thank you for that, Alice. Okay, Jenny, I want to hear your thoughts on first, is your definition of the inner critic the same as Alice's definition? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think Alice summed that up really, really well. And I think one of the things that I was ruminating on last night before this interview is that in addition to being the voice in your head that is keeping you from speaking up, it's also a voice that never, ever says anything positive. It's not only does it say negative things, but it never, ever says anything positive to you.
Yes. It's I'm laughing because it's unrelenting. It has this stubborn, just wearing you down, grinding you down type of characteristic. But I think when we see that, it can almost feel humorous, and that can help us have space and realize this is also a little bit ridiculous, and that makes me feel freed from it.
Right. And you would never do that to a friend. You would never just only point out their bad sides and the bad things they did. You should treat yourself the way you would treat a friend and not the inner critic.
Yes. I think that's such a great way to develop our perspective on it and to learn how we want to treat ourselves and to realize that we're not okay with treating ourselves poorly. Because until we look at it that way, I think it can be hard to realize that we are treating ourselves poorly. And part of building confidence is knowing that that's happening and saying, I want to do things a different way. Similar to what I asked Alice when it came to relating to the voice of your inner critic differently, Jenny, what was that process like? Did it take time? Did you experiment? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, it was very similar to what Alice said, just identifying it and naming it and realizing that it wasn't me. It was a bad version of me was really helpful. And I think once I acknowledged that and named it, then it would prevent the spiral that would usually happen. Usually I would spiral after work. I would think about something that was negative that I said, and then I would just beat myself down for hours and just talk to myself in my head. But once I named it and thought about it, I could just cut it off. And so it was a process, like Alice said, it didn't happen overnight, but the more I named it and the less I spiraled, and then it just became easier.
Yes. And I think that's so important to share, is that this is a process and that it's okay if we learn something that intellectually makes sense and we're not able to do it right away, it doesn't mean that we can't grow or that we're doing it wrong. It means that this type of change typically happens over a longer period of time where we have space to allow the change to integrate. I think that that's really, really important because we live in a world of like quick tips and quick promises. And then that can make us feel like, oh, well, it's not quick for me. Is something wrong? Nothing is wrong. The thing that's wrong, I think, is the expectation of how quick it should be. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about each of your growth, evolution, things you feel proud of. And then if we have time, we'll also do some tips on preparing and avoiding over preparation. So I will go back to you, Alice. When you think about the growth that you've experienced, what do you feel most proud of?
I think I feel most proud of the ease I feel to be my authentic self. I think particularly on that being very critical and wanting to really do something when it's perfect, that can really lead you to avoid certain issues and become so anxious at action that it almost paralyzes you. But within this program, I had a chance to do that self-discovery, a chance to be kinder to myself and to also like being in this community with other women who are on that journey. And it really allowed me to ease into believing that I can be my own authentic self and communicate in a way that also feels very authentic to myself. So that's what I'm most proud of. It feels like a journey that's going to constantly evolve, and that excites me as well. But it feels very freeing to be in that position.
I love that. That is so beautiful, Alice. What would you say to anyone who is struggling with the very common struggle of, I can't imagine being able to like be a strong voice in the workplace and be myself because I don't really see anything around me that feels like me. Like if someone feels like being confident and authentic isn't possible, what would you want that person to know?
I would tell them to just give themselves time and allow themselves time to self-discover what works best for them and to slowly start implementing and recognizing those things. And it's possible to constantly grow into it. As Jenny said, confidence is that muscle. So the more you exercise it, you get more confident. And the more you see that, you get evidence that it's actually possible.
Yes, I love thinking about it as a muscle. How about you, Jenny? When you think about the ways in which you've grown, what do you feel most proud of?
I think I feel most proud of all of the mindset things because I can walk into a meeting or a room now and feel like I'm a confident leader and that my voice matters and that speaking up might be scary, but that I can do it and I have done it and we've practiced this. And now that I've done it at work over time, I can see the results. I can see, that it's made an impact and it really is important to speak up. As Alice said, we all have various inputs and knowledge, and it's important to bring it all together. So I think just the confidence to speak up as leader has been really huge.
That makes me so happy to hear that. And I'll stay on you, Jenny, to go into the next question, which is just false beliefs about, limitations, right? Like, did you have any thoughts that you can't do it or just false beliefs about confidence that you discovered weren't actually true?
Oh, so many. I always thought that I had to know everything about a topic before I could say anything. Otherwise, I would look stupid or sound stupid, or people would be thinking in their head that I'm stupid. That I had to have everything lined up. I would do research for like a week before a meeting and know everything about that topic. But really, it's not about knowing everything. It's about speaking up. And sometimes it's about speaking up and asking questions and understanding more about where the other person is coming from too. Yeah, so many false beliefs about perfectionism for sure.
Yes, that's such a big one. How about you, Alice? Anything to add into that?
I did have the same experience with perfectionism, but I think also the key false belief I had is that I had to be loud and extroverted in order to be confident. So as an introverted person, I felt like that is constantly going to be something that limits me. But in fact, it's not true. I have seen evidence of other introverted people who have known what their communication style is and I have had to discover that for myself and allow myself to still be my own introverted self, but communicate in a way that's authentic to myself, and as well set boundaries that give me the energy to be my best self when I need to.
Yes, the introvert pain is real. And I think we each find our own way to figure that out, but it absolutely is possible and it can feel good and it can feel like non-exhausting. I mean, we'll still feel tired, but not in that same intensely depleting way. So we'll go to the next one. And you've both already shared some thoughts on this. So I'll see if you have others that you want to share. I'll go back to Jenny. This question is around light bulb moments. So you've mentioned a couple, but are there any other light bulb moments that you had that really helped with your growth?
I wrote this down last night because I wanted to remember, because I forget after which session, but I wrote this sticky note that said results and I popped it on my monitor. That helped me so much. It was just one word. And I would go into every meeting thinking, okay, what is the result that I want out of this? What is the goal? What will move this company forward? What will move this project forward? And I feel like somehow that one word was my light bulb. It helped me focus. And so I look at that sticky every time I go into a meeting where it's high stakes or, I need to get some movement out of the project leaders on.
Oh, such a good one. I think the reason is because, well, I would guess it gave your brain a focus that it needed to interpret the situation in a new way. And I think through that interpretation, you viewed meetings differently, you viewed yourself differently, but it all made sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like you had an intrinsic motivation to speak up that made sense and you knew why you were there. And that, I think that clarity gave you then the drive to be like, okay, even if this feels a little bit scary, I'm going to do it anyway.
And it prevented my spirals in the meetings too. So if I just focus on that, I didn't go down the rabbit hole of questioning what I just said or all of that stuff.
Yes, which is all so normal. And we've all had those moments and struggled with it. And also we can get to a place where that's happening a lot less and we're having a much better experience. How about you, Alice? Any other light bulb moments that you experienced?
One of my favorites, which we spoke about in the academy, but is also in one of, I think, my favorite episodes of the podcast, was the idea around the steps you take to build confidence. And you address the concept around taking these baby steps, which I think are really spoken about in so many forums. And a lot of us get stuck in those small baby steps that we take. Then we find that we are not actually becoming more confident. And you spoke about moving to the next step, which is taking a bigger step and building momentum from baby steps to incremental bigger steps. And that I think has been so impactful in my life. And I look at it in all facets of my growth, in how do I move from taking a baby step, in how I'm communicating, and then doing something bigger in order to give me that confidence. It could be speaking up in a C-level meeting. Then the next step is like taking over the whole C-level meeting and doing a big presentation of it. So I think that's a really good way of looking at our personal growth. And it's something we can apply in different facets of our life as well.
I love that. And I'll stay on you, Alice, for the next question, which is, are there any wins that you've experienced or moments that you feel particularly proud of?
Most of my wins are around my daily communication at work. I'm now looking at how I communicate just as a normal part of my life, which is comforting. I think for a very long time, I was in over my head around what to say, how I'm coming offers and over analyzing those situations. But now I'm looking at it more like people need to communicate to do business, and I need to communicate, and I'm part of that communication. And I'm driving the business forward by speaking my mind and saying even rough ideas. So those are my biggest wins in the very small instances that I get just to speak and feel comfortable doing it.
How about you, Jenny? Any wins or milestones that you feel particularly proud of?
I think it's the same as Alice. The overall confidence improvement in myself and seeing myself as a leader leads to just same thing, daily wins in meetings, daily wins in the projects that I'm working on. And I don't have all of that baggage anymore before meetings or before anything. So I think that's what I would say.
Okay, and last question in this section. I'll go back to you, Alice. What are you excited about in the future for what's next?
I often think back of where I was when I started the academy, and I can already see how much progress I have made in my communication. And so for me, it's just I'm looking forward as seeing how this journey continues to evolve. I'm very passionate about personal growth, so I can only imagine how much more is out there for me to discover, for me to unlock for myself by continuing to work on these building blocks of my communication. And I think the great thing is that we still get the recordings. So watching those back and perhaps having another light bulb moment for myself, I'm just excited for the growth that's ahead for me.
Yes, I love that your thought process is, okay, I've grown and that means I can grow more. And it makes me excited for what's ahead. I think that that's so inspiring for other people to hear. All right, Jenny, how about you? What are you excited about in terms of the future?
Continued growth for sure, because before I think I thought of it as a goal and something that once you reach it, that's it. You've reached this level of confidence, you've reached this level of leadership. But thinking of it again as a mindset muscle, you just keep growing it. There's no end game. It's just you can only keep improving and growing. And I'm excited to see where that takes me.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so I'm going to pivot into the closing questions or the final stretch. I'll stay on you, Jenny. If someone is listening and thinking, I want this type of growth, but maybe I can't, like, what if I am like the one person who's stuck? What is something that you would want that person to hear?
I think that growth is possible for anyone. It doesn't have to be a huge something in your life. It's like the daily wins, the daily growth that you see in yourself is way more important than having a goal of like being the CEO and then thinking, oh, I'll never get to that. Just baby steps, growing your confidence and mindset muscle. I think it's possible for anybody, really.
I totally agree with that. How about you, Alice?
I would say that we are all a work in progress. And even those people that look confident in your eyes, they do struggle with not having confidence on some days. They make mistakes as well. So we're all a work in progress. And you're also the best project you can work on. And it's so fulfilling to go on that journey of discovery. It's so empowering and it's a constant journey as well. There's no milestone, and that's what makes it so beautiful. There's so much that we have to discover of ourselves. So I would encourage them to be open to that and let life surprise them when they go out in the world to discover what's possible for them and what they can learn in order to be more confident.
Beautiful. All right, so we'll do the closing two questions. So I'll go back to you, Jenny. The name of the podcast is The Art of Speaking Up. What does the art of speaking up mean to you?
The art of speaking up to me, I would focus on the word art. Art is not a prescribed set of IKEA directions to build a bookshelf. It's fluid and everybody's art is going to come out differently. And I think it's just a beautiful way of doing a program that's not like every other book or podcast out there that has like, okay, in order to speak up, you have to do this and this and this and this. It's just your own journey and your own art.
How about you, Alice? What does the art of speaking up mean to you?
I love what Jenny said there. And for me, it's quite similar. It means being my authentic self and allowing myself to discover how I want to speak and how that looks like for me. So that's the empowering part of it, is that within this academy, it's not just about a set of rules. It's much more about self-discovery and getting to discover how you want to communicate and getting guidance in how that looks like as well.
Okay, I'll go back to you, Jenny. So for the final question, it relates to why I started this show, which is in the beginning of my corporate career, I was really struggling with confidence. And as I was able to evolve through that, I realized that I wanted to be a voice speaking to anyone who was in that position, struggling to feel confident and looking to feel uplifted and inspired. So, with that in mind, I want to give you the floor to share whatever you would want to share with anyone listening who is looking to strengthen their belief in their ability to do it.
I would say definitely keep listening to your podcast.
Of course.
And if possible, enroll in the academy. I mean, I wavered on it for a while, but I'm so glad I did it because not only did I get to practice my mindset muscle and learn so much, but the connection with other women who are going through the exact same thing as me, maybe we don't get to talk about that in the workplace as much. And it was just really valuable. And if you find someone, a group of women in your workplace that you can do it with instead of the academy, that's also fine. But it was just really inspiring to connect with other people and grow our mindset muscle together and commiserate and really grow together. I would also say that working on your inner critic, your inner mindset is something that you can do daily and really feel good about yourself at the end.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. How about you, Alice? If someone's looking to feel uplifted and inspired, what message would you want to leave them with?
I would tell them to take a bet on themselves. At the time when I did this academy, I also was not at my best. My confidence was really hurt, but I came across the podcast and it really resonated with me. And I decided to take the step and invest in the academy. I also did not think it was going to be transformational. I'm actually surprised at how transformational it has been for me. And so I would tell them to also take the risk, and there was that risk as well. Through either the podcast or the academy, they can grow as a person. And that's also the beautiful thing about us as individuals. We have the capacity to constantly evolve and constantly grow. So it is absolutely possible for them, and they should be kind to themselves and give themselves time as well to go on this journey of self-improvement.
Thank you both so much for coming on the show. This was so beautiful.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Jess.
Thank you so much to Jenny and Alice for coming on the show. One of my favorite takeaways from talking with both of them is that confidence isn't about changing into somebody who you're not. It's just about removing that self-criticism that gets in the way of you seeing and remembering how effective and capable you already are. It's not about becoming someone different. It's about recognizing and seeing the incredible well of talent that is already there. If this conversation resonated with you, and if you are craving the mindset tools, practice, and community support you need to build your confidence muscle, this is the work that I guide you through inside of my signature program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy. In this program, you get to do the real inner work to build lasting confidence, and you'll learn how to speak in a way that is crisp and polished so that you can become more respected as a leader in your organization. The work that you do inside the Art of Speaking Up Academy is going to support your professional success for years to come, and you get to do that work alongside a group of ambitious female professionals who share the same obstacles and the same goals that you have. To get started, click the link in the show notes and add yourself to the Art of Speaking Up Academy waitlist. Once you are on the waitlist, you are going to have the opportunity to enroll early. This means that you are going to get to secure your spot in advance, and you will get exclusive early enrollment bonuses, which currently includes a bonus private one-on-one session with me. You get that free with your enrollment when you enroll early. To enroll early, add yourself to the waitlist by clicking the link in the show notes or going to jessguzikcoaching.com/academy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another big thanks to Jenny and Alice for coming on the show. It takes so much courage, I think, to be a guest on a podcast like this. So I am so appreciative of both of you. It was super inspiring. So thank you so much. And I can't wait for next week's episode. Bye, everybody.